Welcome to the new video of Neurophilos. Get ready to dive into a gripping tale that will leave you breathless, thinking, and inspired. Whether you're here for the mystery, the drama, or the unexpected twists, you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe so you never miss another powerful story. Let's begin.
The lie we were taught about confidence. For most of human history, we were taught a comforting but destructive myth, that confidence is something you are either born with or denied forever. Parents, teachers, and culture repeated this idea so often that it hardened into truth. Some people are naturally confident, others are not. With enough repetition, this belief became a quiet rule governing how people saw themselves for the rest of their lives. Many individuals grew up thinking of confidence as a fixed trait, a personality feature like eye color, height, or natural talent. If you had it, you walked into rooms assured, spoke loudly, took risks, and seemed destined for achievement. If you didn't, you told yourself you were fragile, unprepared, or simply not built for that. The myth made insecurity feel like fate. Albert Bandura shattered all of this. Bandura, one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, revealed a truth far more uncomfortable and far more liberating. Confidence is not an inherited essence, it is a psychological construction shaped by your experiences, perceptions, and beliefs. His research proved that what looks like natural confidence is actually a learned pattern, built slowly over time through repeated interactions with the world. His breakthrough concept, self-efficacy, explains how this works. While self-esteem is a general sense of worth, self-efficacy is the specific belief that you are capable of performing an action successfully. It is targeted, practical, and measurable. And this single belief quietly determines how you approach challenges, handle setbacks, and interpret failure. Self-efficacy operates like a hidden script directing human behavior. When someone believes they cannot do something, that belief shapes how they behave. They hesitate, resist taking risks, sabotage their own progress, withdraw when faced with obstacles, and give up quickly when their first attempt doesn't work. Their mindset becomes self-fulfilling. The expectation of failure leads directly to the behaviors that cause failure. But Bandura discovered something even more disturbing: a lack of self-efficacy leaks outward into the world. Insecure people unknowingly communicate doubt through their tone, posture, facial expressions, and eye contact. These signals are subtle, but the human nervous system reads them instantly. Others respond by treating the person as uncertain, unreliable, or unprepared, even when they never intended to send such a message. When your internal belief is, "I can't," you unconsciously teach the world to see you the same way. This forms an invisible cycle that many people spend their entire lives trapped inside. The cycle begins with a small internal belief: "I am not capable." That belief generates insecurity. Insecurity alters behavior. Behavior affects how others react. And others' reactions reinforce the original belief. Over time, a person's entire reality reshapes itself around this single internal lie. Someone who doubts themselves speaks differently, moves differently, makes decisions differently. They apologize preemptively. They step back so others can step forward. They stay silent even when they have ideas. They convince themselves they are being polite or cautious, but in truth they are shrinking, slowly erasing themselves from opportunities. And the world responds to this disappearance. People rarely question why someone doesn't speak up, or why they stand in the background, or why they never take the lead. They assume the behavior reflects capability, not belief. And so the person who doubts themselves becomes overlooked, underestimated, even ignored. This external response further confirms their inner narrative: "See? I knew I wasn't good enough. Thus the cycle tightens, turning into a quiet psychological trap. Bandura's work revealed the depth of this trap, and the way out of it. If confidence can be formed through experience, it can also be reformed. If insecurity is learned through repeated interpretations of failure, then confidence can be learned through repeated interpretations of success. If doubt can be transmitted, then belief can be transmitted too. Confidence, Bandura showed, is not a gift. It is a construction. And all constructions can be rebuilt. The lie we were taught, that confidence is destiny, collapses under the weight of his research. Confidence is not inherited. It is developed. And the first step toward developing it begins with understanding that the story you have been telling yourself about your own capability may not be true. The invisible trap of self-sabotage. Most people who are stuck in a cycle of self-sabotage have no idea they are trapped. It does not announce itself loudly. It does not look like failure or weakness. It disguises itself as caution, humility, or sensible restraint. It whispers, "Be careful, don't embarrass yourself, wait until you're ready." But underneath these seemingly protective thoughts lies one quiet, destructive belief: I won't succeed. Bandura revealed that low self-efficacy is not simply a negative thought, it is an entire psychological system. It begins with a belief, spreads into interpretation, shapes behavior, invites external reactions, and then uses those reactions to validate the original belief. It is a loop, smooth, silent, and nearly invisible, yet powerful enough to shape a person's identity. The cycle begins with a tiny seed of doubt: I probably can't do this. This belief distorts how challenges are perceived. Instead of seeing an opportunity to grow, the individual sees a threat, a test that will expose their inadequacy. This fear-based perception then alters behavior. They hesitate, procrastinate, avoid taking initiative, or deliver the bare minimum just to get through without failing too visibly. These protective behaviors, however, create predictable outcomes. The person either underperforms or fails entirely. The result becomes the evidence the mind was waiting for: see? I told you I wasn't good enough. But the mind doesn't analyze the context. It doesn't consider lack of preparation, the fear that held them back, or the sabotaging behavior that created the failure. It only registers the outcome and uses it to reinforce the original belief. The cycle restarts, but tighter. Bandura called this the self-fulfilling loop of low self-efficacy, and its impact goes beyond internal feelings. It transforms how a person is treated by the world. Because doubt does not stay inside. It leaks. Someone with low self-efficacy unknowingly transmits signals of uncertainty through body language, tone, eye contact, pauses, and even breathing. Their shoulders tense. Their voice drops. Their sentences trail off. They fidget or shrink physically when challenged. These microbehaviors may seem insignificant, but humans are wired to detect them instantly. Colleagues, friends, partners, everyone picks up on these cues subconsciously and adjusts their behavior in response. They interrupt more often. They trust the person less. They overlook them in group discussions. They offer fewer opportunities, show less respect, or give decisions to someone who simply seems more certain. Not because they are cruel, but because people respond instinctively to the emotional energy around them. Thus, what began as an internal insecurity transforms into an external reality: rejection, invisibility, missed opportunities, and social erosion. And the most painful part is that the person interprets this external reaction as further proof of their internal belief: people don't take me seriously because I'm not capable. In truth, People don't take them seriously because they are signaling that they don't take themselves seriously. This is what makes the cycle so destructive. It appears natural, justified, even logical. But it is built entirely on misinterpreted experiences and self-imposed limitations. Over time, the cycle becomes so ingrained that it shapes identity itself. Someone who once doubted only their ability to speak in public begins doubting their ability to lead, then their ability to succeed, and eventually their ability to change. Their sense of capability shrinks until it becomes the lens through which they view their entire life. Bandura emphasized that this cycle is devastating precisely because it feels invisible. Most people never realize that avoidance is not personality, but conditioning. They don't see that hesitating is not humility, but fear. They don't notice that playing small is not politeness, but self-protection learned over years of misinterpreted failures. The tragedy is not that people fail. Failure is normal, even necessary. The tragedy is that people interpret failure as a confirmation of personal inadequacy. This is why Bandura's work matters. It exposes the mechanism behind the trap, and makes it possible to dismantle it. When you understand how the cycle operates, you can interrupt it. When you recognize how doubt distorts your behavior, you can choose differently. When you realize the world is reacting to your signals, not your essence, you regain control over your presence. The invisible trap is powerful, but it is not permanent. The belief, "I cannot," was learned, and what is learned can be unlearned. Chapter 3 will go deeper into how insecurity reveals itself physically, emotionally, and socially, even when someone tries to hide it. How insecurity leaks through the body. Many people believe they can hide their insecurity. They think that if they rehearse their words, dress the part, force a smile, and maintain superficial composure, no one will notice the doubt brewing inside them. But Albert Bandura exposed a deeper truth: insecurity always leaks through the body, no matter how carefully someone tries to disguise it. Human communication is overwhelmingly nonverbal. Long before words are spoken, people read posture, expressions, micromovements, timing, rhythm, and energy. The body reveals the beliefs the mind tries to conceal. And low self-efficacy, no matter how quietly it resides in one's thoughts, expresses itself through dozens of tiny signals that others immediately perceive. A person with low self-efficacy often displays closed body language without realizing it: shoulders curved inward, arms crossed or held protectively, steps that are small and hesitant. They avoid eye contact not because they are rude, but because eye contact exposes vulnerability. They speak in fragile tones, with rising endings that sound like questions rather than statements. Their voice falters mid-sentence, especially when challenged. They pause too long before responding, searching internally for permission to speak. Even their breathing changes. Their presence becomes smaller, their movements constrained, their energy withdrawn. People interpret these signals instinctively. They don't consciously think, "This person doubts themselves." But they feel it. Humans are wired to detect uncertainty because it suggests risk. We lean toward confidence because confidence signals safety, capability, and direction. And so the cues of doubt, no matter how subtle, create an unconscious distance between the insecure person and the world around them. This is the uncomfortable reality Bandura highlighted: lack of confidence is communicated even in silence. Consider someone saying, "I think I can handle this project," while looking down, fidgeting, and unconsciously shrinking into their chair. Their words express ability, but their body expresses fear. The listener instantly trusts the body more than the sentence. The mind recognizes the mismatch. The verbal message says yes, the non-verbal message says no. This internal contradiction creates a sense of uncertainty in others, leading them to question the person's capability. And once again, the cycle tightens. Bandura called these signals silent transmissions of self-doubt. Without intending to, the insecure person broadcasts a message to everyone around them: I don't trust myself. And the world reflects it back with equal force. Then why should we? This dynamic is not cruel, it is instinctual. In social environments, people gravitate toward those who project steadiness and clarity. Insecure energy pushes opportunities away. People interrupt more, dismiss more quickly, overlook more easily, and trust less deeply when someone communicates uncertainty through their presence. Confidence, meanwhile, attracts attention, respect, and influence long before results are even proven. This is why two people with the same skills can be treated entirely differently. One emits conviction, the other emits doubt. People with high self-efficacy communicate differently, not because they act superior, but because their body naturally reflects internal belief. Their posture opens instead of closing. Their voice carries intention rather than apology. They hold eye contact without fear. Their gestures are purposeful, not defensive. They occupy space without shrinking or seeking permission. They do not need to fake confidence, their mind and body are aligned. But someone with low self-efficacy cannot simply fake these behaviors. You can rehearse strong posture, but your voice will still reveal hesitation. You can force a smile, but your micro-expressions will betray your fear. You can speak assertive words, but your pauses, tone, and breathing will reveal your doubts. This is because the body expresses what the mind believes. It is nearly impossible to mimic the energy of confidence without actually possessing the belief behind it. Bandura's insight is both confronting and hopeful. It means that the world is not unfairly judging you, it is responding to the signals you are unconsciously transmitting. And those signals are shaped by your internal beliefs, not by your actual skill. This is why real confidence cannot be built through posture tricks, memorized lines, or external image. These may help temporarily, but the underlying belief remains unchanged. And that belief, the sense of I can or I can't, is what the body ultimately communicates. However, this also means something empowering. When you begin changing your internal belief, your entire presence changes automatically. Your voice steadies, your posture shifts, your breathing calms, and your movements open, not through effort, but through alignment. Confidence radiates because it is felt, not performed. In the next chapter, we will explore Bandura's 4 scientific sources of real self-efficacy, the practical tools that transform belief from the inside out, creating a confidence that is genuine, stable, and unshakable. The 4 pillars of real self-efficacy. After understanding how deeply self-efficacy influences behavior, identity, and social response, one question becomes unavoidable: if confidence is not inborn, how is it built? Albert Bandura spent decades studying this very question, and his answer is one of the most influential contributions to modern psychology. Instead of shallow motivational advice or unrealistic positivity, Bandura mapped out 4 concrete, scientifically proven sources from which real confidence arises. These 4 pillars are universal, anyone can use them, regardless of past failures, upbringing, or personality. They form the foundation of a belief system that is earned through experience rather than imagined through wishful thinking. Let's explore each one. 1. Mastery experiences, the power of small victories. Bandura identified this as the most potent and reliable source of self-efficacy. Nothing strengthens the belief in your abilities more than direct, personal success. But the secret lies in small successes, not grand achievements. Completing a project you feared, resolving a conflict with honesty, speaking in public for 2 minutes, staying disciplined for 1 day, each tiny victory sends a powerful message to the brain. I can do this. The human mind stores these experiences as evidence of competence. Over time, these small victories accumulate, forming a mental archive that the brain consults every time you face a new challenge. This is why people with strong self-efficacy keep trying even when unsure. They have a bank of lived proof that they can overcome difficulty. The tragedy is that many people dismiss their own small wins as insignificant. They wait for a dramatic transformation, all while ignoring the subtle successes that could rebuild their confidence. Bandura's work makes it clear, real confidence grows one small win at a time. 2. Social modeling, seeing someone like you succeed. The second pillar of self-efficacy is observational learning. When you see someone similar to you, someone with your background, style, or limitations, successfully perform a task you fear, your brain internalizes the possibility. If they can do it, maybe I can too. This effect is powerful because the brain mirrors what it observes. Watching someone else overcome a challenge activates neural pathways as if you were rehearsing the action yourself. However, for modeling to work, the model must feel relatable. If the example is too distant or idealized, a billionaire entrepreneur, a superstar athlete, a charismatic genius, the effect reverses. Instead of motivating you, it makes you feel inadequate. Effective modeling comes from realistic, accessible examples, colleagues, mentors, peers, or people with similar struggles. This is why diverse environments, supportive communities, and relatable mentors accelerate growth. They offer a library of believable success stories that strengthen your own belief. 3. Verbal persuasion, encouragement that comes from credibility. Words matter, but only when they come from the right people. Verbal persuasion is not flattery, shallow compliments, or motivational slogans. It is specific, credible encouragement from someone whose opinion you value. A mentor saying, "You handled that challenge well." A friend telling you, "You don't see how capable you are." A teacher saying, "You're ready for the next step." This kind of feedback acts as a catalyst. It does not create skill, but it activates it. When someone you trust expresses belief in your ability, you become more willing to act, take risks, and persist a little longer. That extra persistence often produces results that then feed into mastery experiences. This is why the right words from the right person at the right moment can change the trajectory of a life. 4. Physiological and emotional states, rewriting the meaning of fear. The fourth pillar is the most overlooked, but one of the most transformative: how you interpret the sensations in your body. Most people feel their heart race, hands sweat, or stomach tighten and instantly conclude, "This means I can't do it." But Bandura revealed that these sensations are not signs of incapacity, they are signs of readiness. The same physical sensations appear in athletes before a match, musicians before a performance, and surgeons before a critical operation. The difference lies in interpretation. A professional feels adrenaline and calls it focus. A beginner feels the same adrenaline and calls it fear. When you learn to reinterpret bodily signals, not as warnings but as natural preparation for action, your confidence rises. You begin to understand that nerves do not disqualify you. They indicate that what you are doing matters. The four pillars working together. These four sources, small victories, relatable models, credible encouragement, and emotional regulation, operate like interconnected gears. Strengthening even one begins to strengthen the others. A small win boosts your courage. Courage helps you notice inspiring examples. Inspiration invites supportive feedback. Support stabilizes your emotions. Stable emotions create room for more wins. This synergy produces confidence that doesn't depend on pretending or performing, but on real, lived evidence. In the next chapter, we will explore something equally powerful: what happens to your life, identity, and social world when self-efficacy finally begins to rise. The virtuous cycle and the fate you choose. If low self-efficacy creates a vicious cycle of doubt, avoidance, and failure, Bandura showed that the opposite is equally true. When a person begins to believe, even slightly, in their own ability to act, a new psychological system emerges. This system becomes a virtuous cycle, a reinforcing loop that gradually transforms behavior, identity, and the way the world responds to you. The cycle begins with something deceptively simple: enough belief to act. Not full confidence, not total certainty, just enough internal conviction to take the first step. When someone with rising self-efficacy faces a challenge, they approach it differently from someone who is merely hoping to succeed. Their attempt carries intention rather than fear, effort rather than avoidance, and engagement rather than self-protection. This difference in attitude produces better results. Not perfect results, not effortless success, simply better. But even slightly better outcomes are powerful because they feed directly back into the belief system. I acted, and something improved. That improvement strengthens belief. Stronger belief fuels stronger action. Stronger action yields better results. Better results elevate the person's identity. Others notice the shift, and their reactions reinforce the new behavior. Thus, a positive spiral forms. People with increasing self-efficacy are perceived differently. They don't speak louder or act superior, yet something about their presence changes. Their words land with more weight. Their ideas receive more consideration. They are listened to not because they demand attention, but because conviction subtly radiates from their behavior. In meetings, others pause when they speak. In relationships, their boundaries are respected more naturally. In opportunities, their name is remembered. In conflicts, their stance feels solid rather than defensive. This shift is not magical. It is psychological. Humans respond instinctively to certainty, steadiness, and self-trust. When you project belief, the world mirrors belief. When you transmit doubt, the world mirrors doubt. Self-efficacy becomes the quiet force determining who gets chosen, who gets trusted, who gets promoted, who gets respected, and ultimately, who gets to live the life they desire rather than the life they fear. But the transformation goes even deeper. It does not stop at behavior or social reaction. It begins to reshape identity itself. Each time you act despite fear, and succeed even slightly, you rewrite the story you tell yourself about who you are. You stop seeing yourself as fragile or incapable. You begin to detach from the old identity formed by misinterpreted failures. You no longer define yourself by your insecurities, childhood labels, or past mistakes. You begin to see yourself as someone who is evolving, learning, and expanding. This identity shift is the core of Bandura's insight. Real confidence grows from action, not the other way around. People with strong self-efficacy don't wait to feel ready before they act. They act, and readiness grows from the action. People with weak self-efficacy wait for signs, permission, encouragement, or a perfect moment that never comes. They postpone risks until risks disappear, which means they never begin. They demand certainty before the first step, without realizing that certainty is what emerges after many imperfect steps. Bandura warned that most people remain stuck in the vicious cycle for their entire lives, not because they lack talent, but because they wait for external validation to confirm their internal belief. They want the world to say, "You are capable," before daring to behave as capable. But the world does not work that way. No one will believe in you more than you believe in yourself. No boss, partner, friend, or mentor can carry the burden of your doubt. External confidence cannot sustain an identity that internally feels undeserving. This is why people sabotage opportunities even when others believe in them. This is why some stay silent even when they have good ideas. This is why capable individuals shrink in rooms where they should rise. The world mirrors your projection. If you transmit uncertainty, it reflects uncertainty. If you transmit conviction, it reflects conviction. And everything begins with the choice to act, imperfectly, nervously, but intentionally. The final realization Bandura leaves us with is both challenging and liberating. Your belief about your own capability is shaping your destiny. It determines which risks you take, which opportunities you notice, how you behave, and how others treat you. Every small moment of courage begins rewriting this destiny, turning a silent prison into a doorway. The question that remains, the one only you can answer, is simple. What small action will you take today to begin turning this cycle in your favor?